As the winter months draw nearer, the night falls sooner and stays longer. We tend to hear more spooky stories and ghostly tales, whether it is the annual horror hype through October or the eerie, crisp air of winter. There is something uneasy in the atmosphere as we move through to the last few months of the year. So today, here at Unexplained Mysteries, we will be taking a look at 3 horrific sights, 3 horror houses so wicked that they no longer stand. Ed Gein. Some people are capable of unthinkable things, true nightmares and terrible actions. Sometimes it's not the house itself, but rather the crimes the house has seen that are so shocking. Ed Gein's house was where the news of his dreadful evils had first come to light. In 1957, a woman and owner of the local hardware store went missing. She was tracked down to Gein's house, thanks to a paper trail of purchases, and that is when the scene began to unfold before them. The authorities found the woman in a shed on Gein's property, with her head missing and hung upside down. She had been suspended by a crossbar, had firearm wounds, and a number of mutilations that were determined to have been completed after she had passed. It was after the discovery of this woman that the case took an even stranger turn. The police searched the house, where they made a series of alarming discoveries, artifacts made from humans. Some of the items that were found included human skin being used to cover the seats of chairs, to make waste paper baskets, to form corsets, whole bones, skulls on his bedposts. The list goes on. Some of the most disturbing things that were found in his house included a mask of one victim's face and a collection of female body parts. He reportedly would go to the graveyard and dig up recently buried middle-aged women that he thought bore a similar appearance to his mother, despite some of the body parts coming from girls as young as 15. When he was asked about what he intended to do, he said his aim was to create a woman suit, aiming to simulate crawling into his mother's skin. This house was certainly full of terrible things and unspeakable products made from humans. The things found were truly disturbing and unforgettable. H. Holmes Castle torn down. H. Holmes earned himself the not-so-desirable title of America's first documented serial attacker. What started out as a hotel, a way to bring in some money during the 1893 Chicago World's Fair, quickly developed into horrors beyond what many of us could imagine. Holmes, who was born Herman Webster Mudgett, but changed his name reportedly to pay homage to Sherlock Holmes, the fictional detective, ran the World's Fair Hotel, also known as H. Holmes Hotel. This building seemed to be just that, a normal hotel, a source of income for the man, though it soon became known that something beyond check-ins were going on, and there certainly were not enough check-outs. The tales of this house have become warped through time and retellings. Who truly knows exactly what lay behind the doors of this building? The stories seem to tell us that this hotel was home to more than 100 rooms, filled with sinister devices and contraptions, from trapdoors and staircases that stopped at solid walls to gas rooms and false exits. It was said that once you got in, you most certainly would not find your way out of the tormented castle labyrinth alive. The castle saw the first floor as a row of shops, storefronts that could be rented to the businesses looking to flood to Chicago, a city that was in development, rising and truly starting to thrive. It was from the second floor up that these terrible crimes began to surface. The third floor was to be rented out as apartments, making for ideal housing for those moving into the city, completely unsuspecting of what their fates could soon become. It was in between these floors that the secrets began to hide. The victims from the third floor were whisked to the second, where there were allegedly mazes, hidden stairs leading to nowhere, and even smothering chambers. It was the basement, however, that has truly made this house famous with the crimes we know it to have held today. The house featured hinged walls with fake parts between them. Some rooms had as many as 5 doors, while others appeared to be entirely inaccessible. Not only was the design odd, but the accomplishment was dreadful. Iron plating on the walls meant that sounds were almost eliminated, and police even uncovered airless chambers tucked away and hidden beneath the floorboards. Some rooms had strange chutes connecting rooms to the basement, and some were even fitted with gas fixtures, creating a homemade gas room. All of these odd features somehow managed to remain undetected throughout the construction process, though Holmes managed to avoid suspicion by frequently changing builders throughout the project. An almost constant flow of builders and architects meant that the big picture stayed hidden, and no one could see quite what all of these unusual bits and pieces were ultimately creating. He was caught as the remains of a child he had taken the life of were uncovered, and it was these that led to his arrest. Following the arrest, this was when the elements to the house were uncovered, as police continued to find more and more traps within the house. Holmes died via capital punishment in 1896, though some have formed conspiracies that he bribed officers to hang a different man in his place, letting him escape. These claims were refuted through DNA testing as recently as 2017. Now the building has been removed. It was torn down in 1938 and was gutted out using fire before that in 1895, removing traces of what might have once stood there for good. Holmes himself claimed he had taken the lives of 27 people in the house, though sometimes he bragged about as many as 200, and some historians have begun to speculate that his true victim count was closer to 9, with that being the number he was officially linked to. We know that he was a vile person, though the concept of the dreadful castle could be one exaggerated and distorted through time. Some researchers casting an eye back over the past have begun to speculate whether the whispered legends of trapdoors and terrifying contraptions were the result of the media spinning more to the stories than what was truly there. We might never know for sure what took place within those walls, nor what dreadful crimes lied within. Indiana Exorcism House of Latoya Ammons is demolished. Sometimes the terrifying things we experience are not always horrors inflicted by humans, but are instead something that is a little harder to explain. The Ammons family home was one place that once saw plenty of awful and strange goings-on, but it was not a human wreaking havoc upon this family. The family consisted of Latoya Ammons, her mother, and her 3 children, aged 7, 9, and 12, when they first moved into the home in 2011. Though it certainly was not a blissful move. One of the initial strange goings-on was a swarm of black flies that surrounded their porch just days after they had moved into their new home, no matter how many times they believed that they had sprayed them. And the strange happenings only grew from there. Ammon's mother, Rosa Campbell, reported hearing footsteps coming from the basement rooms, and then the strange creaks of doors, having seen boot prints that she did not recognize, and even reporting a shadowy figure of a man. Whilst these are somewhat classic haunting sightings, what happened next certainly passes the typical threshold of a pleasant spirit meaning no harm. Campbell said that she was choked by an unknown and unidentifiable force. The 12-year-old child was seen levitating above her bed during a sleepover. One boy was said to be thrown across the room, and the youngest to have had his eyes roll into his head before he began to growl a series of threats. Some claimed that the children were performing on behalf of their mother, not believing the claims of the paranormal events within the home. Becoming increasingly afraid and desperate, the family hired Father Michael Magano to perform an exorcism after he concluded they were being tormented by demons. 3 exorcisms later, the house and Latoya Ammons herself had been supposedly rid of any demons, and the family relocated, moving in 2012 to escape the horrors they had seen in their home. So what happened to the house? It was taken apart as part of a documentary series hosted by Zach Baggins, investigating the goings-on that were part of the history of the house. Who knows if the house was truly haunted? Who knows if the family has evaded demons since? Some horrors in our lives are tangible and others lie in a realm beyond our own. But what do you make of these accounts? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comments section below and help us grow this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.